Tansin etute mak tiar wheatley nisiga asun o pasquayak oche. Tawau. Welcome to APTN National News. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs say they are not committing to the Manitoba government's proposal for a Crown-Indigenous corporation. This comes after a special Chiefs Assembly meeting late last week. Reporter Sav Jonza has more.
The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs say they will proceed carefully with the Manitoba government following AMC's decision to not commit to a major infrastructure project initiative. This comes after a special Chiefs Assembly late last week where chiefs and proxies from all 63 First Nations in Manitoba discussed the province's proposed Crown-Indigenous Corporation, or MCIC. Still in its early stages, the MCIC intends to create consultation between Manitoba and Indigenous leaders in the province for a review and approval of major projects in their traditional territory. AMC Grand Chief Kyra Wilson said in a statement that chiefs were cautious about MCIC's framework, adding the Manitoba Crown-Indigenous Corporation model includes a 12-seat board with only 5 seats designated for First Nations, expected to represent all 63 nations in Manitoba and more than 172,000 citizens. Manitoba Premier Wabkanu spoke at the AMC meeting, assuring opportunity for partnership even if they did not move forward with his proposal. Earlier this month, the Southern Chiefs Organization and Manitoba Métis Federation agreed to engage in the creation and operation of the initiative together through a recently signed Memorandum of Understanding. They expect MCIC will have equal representation from First Nations and Red River Métis. AMC will continue to discuss the proposal at an annual General Assembly in September. Sav Jonza, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Member of Parliament Leah Gazan wrote a letter to Prime Minister Mark Carney last Thursday. Her letter urges the government to ensure the safety of wildfire evacuees, especially women and girls at high risk of violence. Gazan says that she has asked Prime Minister Carney if Indigenous women and girls' safety is not of national interest to him in the past. In her letter addresses the same question. She has not received any comment from Carney. The province of Manitoba has one of the highest rates of sex trafficking for Indigenous women and girls, and the lack of attention being put into evacuee shelters is increasing risk for MMIWG2S+, with many sleeping on cots. Gazan says that duty of care is a right that evacuees have, and the community is concerned, especially with the safety of women and girls. The Yukon government has started work to make its mining regulatory system more independent. The government says recent events like last year's Eagle gold mine heap leach failure show there's a need to re-examine the territory's regulatory oversight. The Department of Energy, Mines and Resources is currently responsible for inspecting mining operations, enforcing environmental regulations, and monitoring impacts of resource development. The government says it's exploring whether that responsibility could be housed with the Yukon Water Board, an independent body that regulates water use in the territory. The process is in the early stages and will include engaging with First Nations. The family of a Norwegian hiker found dead in northern Manitoba are now traveling to Canada to bring his remains home. The body of Stefan Schutvik was discovered during a ground search yesterday. The 29-year-old went missing during a 300-kilometer hike that began last month in northern Ontario. He was due to arrive in York Factory, Manitoba on August 15th, but he never showed up. The family says they also want to thank members of the search crew when they are here. Muscopine Saulteaux Nation in Saskatchewan has begun a consultation process on whether or not they will change their name in honor of their inaugural chief. CTV's Mick Favel reports.
Muscopine Saulteaux Nation, located 60 kilometers northeast of Regina, is having conversations of a name change in honor of their inaugural leader, Chief Chikak.
It's good to have a consultation with the members that are involved, because I think that's where you need to take the direction from, and that, as a leadership, that's what we're going to do, is we're going to take direction from our members, and we don't think we know better than anybody else, and we're willing to take direction, we're willing to listen.
Chief Chikuk signed on to Treaty 4 on September 8, 1875. He represented the nation that would go on to become Musquepeeting Saulteaux Nation. For many years, little information was known about the chief, but now the nation is working hard to uncover who he was.
This is the era of truth and reconciliation, and often we hold government and industry to standard to that, but sometimes we need to reconcile with ourselves. And today, that's what today's conversation was reminding our people that we come from Chief Chikuk.
Musquepeeting is currently working with Joan Holmes and Associates, a firm digging into the nation's history and Chief Chikuk.
We found Chiefs Chikuk and Musquepeeting in pre-treaty records. Chikuk, we found him around the elbow of the South Saskatchewan. We found him near Fort Pelly.
The firm is currently putting the finishing touches on a research document on the chief. For now, consultation between the band members will continue until everyone has a clear understanding of a possible name change.
I want to bring some of the people out to bring history, and more of their research to our people so they know our history. I think that the more they're comfortable with what we're presenting, the more comfortable we can make a easier decision on what to do.
Mick Favel, CTV News, Musquepeeting Saulteaux Nation.
A mother in Saskatchewan is speaking out in hopes that her son's story will lead to justice. Dorothy Laboucaine from Onion Lake First Nation says no arrests have been made since her son Terrence Christopher Laboucaine was killed on an Alberta First Nation over 2 years ago. Terrence Laboucaine was found deceased on June 13, 2023 in Ermineskin First Nation in Musquecheese, just south of Edmonton, Alberta. According to Alberta RCMP, Laboucaine's death is being treated as a homicide but would not share any details with APTN News. Terrence's mother is also very critical of the RCMP and says a public press release about her son's death was never released. Here's a clip of Dorothy speaking to our Creason at Jacote.
All I know is that there was a party in Ermineskin, and what happened at that party, I don't know. But on June 13th, my son was found under a mattress. And there's five of them that are involved. And on June 14th, I had made a missing persons report. June 15th, I was notified that he was deceased and that he was found. And how they knew about his who he was they had to do a fingerprint on his left hand, which he was already pretty much very decomposed. 3 possible suspects. They are trying to get the other 2. And they said they had a bunch of like cameras and phones and tablets or whatever, which they were getting all the evidence from or whatever. And that's basically all I heard, except for now that you guys are involved, the media is involved, the constable, or not the constable, the sergeant came, the homicide sergeant came and seen me this morning to cover his tracks after 2 years. Came from Edmonton to see me. Dad Don Smart. And I asked him a bunch of questions and basically told me the same thing that he's been telling me for the past 2 years.
A spokesperson for the Alberta RCMP said the RCMP Major Crimes Unit continues to actively investigate. RCMP also confirmed that a public press release to the media was not released after Laboucane's death. Their statement reads, "It is important to note that media releases are one of several investigative tools available to us. They are generally used when public assistance is required to advance an investigation. In this case, investigators determined that a media release would not contribute to the progress of the file." While you may not always see updates in the media, this does not reflect the level of work being done. Our investigators are committed to pursuing every available lead and continue to dedicate significant effort to resolving this case. APTN News will continue to follow this story. We want to hear what you think about our newscast or any of our stories. Here's how to continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Time for a quick break. When we return, we will introduce you to a film director and actor who's got not one, but 2 films at this year's Toronto International Film Festival. Pitigwe, welcome back. The Toronto International Film Festival, or TIFF, is fast approaching for 2025. The 10-day festival begins on September 4th. This year, 2 films showcasing at TIFF are of the brainchild of a woman with ties to the Saugeen First Nation in Manitoba. Dana Solomon is a filmmaker and actor with mixed Anishinaabe and Guyanese heritage. She joined us on Zoom to talk about those 2 films, one called Bloodlines and the other called Nime. But first, here's a preview of her short film, Nime.
Mariano stood accused of sexually assaulting several female students over the course of more than 5 years.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if anyone was coming back.
Oh, it's okay. I'm just packing up.
You here rehearsing alone?
Yeah.
You know, we're actually having a free community heals class for Indigenous women and people in Regent Park. You're more than welcome to stay if you like.
I can't.
Okay, it's a sexy time though. Lots of booty, lots of hair everywhere, big auntie energy. What's your background?
Anishinaabe.
Oh, same.
Or did you mean dance-wise?
Both?
I was a part of a ballet company.
Thanks for joining us, Dana. You have 2 films showcasing at TIFF this year. Let's start with Bloodlines. What should our viewers know about this film?
This film is a beautiful love story between 2 women. It's rooted in Métis culture. It's about belonging, complex relationships, and ultimately forgiveness.
And the other is called Nime. What takes place in this piece of work?
Well, this piece of work is my directorial debut that'll be premiering at TIFF this September, which I'm so thrilled about. It's about an Indigenous ballerina reigniting her passion for dance after a traumatic event.
You know, you're of mixed heritage as well. You bring representation from the queer community. Tell me a little bit about how all of this helps in your storytelling.
Yeah, I think it informs every fabric of my storytelling. I worked for many years with Indigenous youth, and my aim is to bring representation of all kinds to film and TV. Representation I wish I had growing up, and being of mixed heritage and from the queer community, championing these stories is very important to me.
You know, you mentioned it briefly there earlier, but you know, you worked both behind the scenes and in front of the camera. You know, where did you get your inspiration to want to do all of it?
Yeah, well, you know, I look up to people like Eva Thomas and Gail Maurice, Jennifer Podemsky, and I feel like they've really paved the way for this next wave of filmmakers like myself to come up. They've inspired me. And working with youth has inspired me to write stories and create awareness and change through my art.
Let's get back to those films a little bit. They're a little bit, one's a longer, one's a short film. Tell me the difference in them.
Yeah, Bloodlines is a feature film that I have a lead role in, and Nime is a short film that I wrote, directed, and acted in. The lead character in Nime is Callie Kennedy, who's also a dance artist who I met doing a dance project.
And you know, we said you're mixed heritage. Tell us a little bit about your background a bit more.
Yeah, I'm Anishinaabe, member of Saugeen First Nation, and I'm also Guyanese on my father's side, and I grew up along the Red River in southern Manitoba, and now I'm living in Mississauga, Ontario.
Any words of advice to those in our community who may be interested in, you know, this film industry?
Yeah, absolutely. What was pivotal for me was having mentors, so reaching out to people who you look up to for advice and words of encouragement. Imagine Native has been really pivotal for me. They had a Film Institute features lab that I was a part of, that I got to kind of hone in on my writing skills, and I think that kind of mentorship has really helped me on my journey, so I'm so thankful.
Is there anyone you want to give a quick shout out to, you know, while you made the ones who helped you with these films?
Yeah, well, there's a few people. I think Eva Thomas is one person who really took me under her wing and, you know, provided me with a lot of support and mentorship. And Gail Maurice, because she casted me in her beautiful story. She's a wonderful filmmaker, and I'm so grateful for that experience.
Thank you so much for your time, Dana, and best of luck at TIFF and beyond.
Miigwech, thank you for having me. Take care.
We can all use a little bit of Big Auntie energy. Time for our last break. Stick around, we'll take you to a Mi'kmaq nation which held its first Comic-Con. Tawau, welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Clarence Jones spotted what he called a mother spirit bear with her 2 cubs making their way through the Gitxsan Nation. A rare sight indeed. Thanks for the share. If you have a picture you would like to share, send your pictures to share at aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east, St. John 16, Charlottetown 24. Kuujjuaq 9, Nain 12 degrees. Chibougamau 15, Quebec City 20. North Bay 21, Toronto 27. Big Trout Lake 14, Kapuskasing 17. Churchill 14, Thompson 13. Barons River 19, Winnipeg 25. North Battleford 26, Regina 31. Uranium City 11, Stony Rapids 12. Fort Chipewyan 14, Fort McMurray 25. Edmonton 27, Calgary 26. Kamloops 22, Vancouver 19. Dease Lake 9, Smithers 15. Old Crow 9, Mayo 20. Norman Wells 17, Fort Simpson 12. Tuktoyaktuk 5, Colville Lake 19. Cambridge Bay 15, Baker Lake 13. Arctic Bay 8, Igloolik 6 degrees. For the first time, a Comic-Con was held at a Mi'kmaq Nation. The event had a Mi'kmaq touch that included celebrities and wrestling. Angel Moore was at the Elsie Buktuk Mi'kmaq Nation Comic-Con, which included some well-known celebrities.
You would not expect wrestling at a Comic-Con, but co-organizer Susan Levi Peters says it was a great fit.
Because the arena is named after one of a former wrestler from our community, when that's his wrestler name, I said, yeah, why not? Like everything's, is meant to happen the way it's supposed to. So we invited them, and then it turned out like it was like you've seen it. The kids were so all pumped for that and everything.
About 200 people gathered at the Chief Eagle Young Recreation Centre in the Elsipogtog First Nation to attend the first time a Comic-Con was held in a Mi'kmaq nation. Levi Peters was inspired by her daughter to bring Comic-Con to her community and called it ElsiCon.
So she took us to a comic convention in Moncton, East Coast Comic Expo, and it was unbelievable, like to see something like this. And I immediately, I wanted to bring it to my community and share it.
Comic-Con is where fans of anime and comic culture meet creators, purchase merchandise, and show off their costumes, including PJ Sock. He is 11 years old and is from the Elsipogtog First Nation. Sock is Lorax, a character from the Dr. Seuss movie. He made his costume.
I spray painted this yellow, and I found this at Walmart. That's pretty much it.
Where'd you get that?
Oh yeah, I got this from a pillow.
Vicky Bear dressed as Wonder Woman and came to support her daughter, Asha Bear. They traveled from their community, the Nagudkuk Wolastoqey Nation.
I decided to come today because my daughter had asked me to come, and she encouraged me to dress up with her, and it means a lot to me to be here with my daughter. I'm very excited.
Asha came to ElsiCon to promote her business called Bear Beadwork and have fun. She is dressed as her favorite character, Sailor Moon. She says it was not hard to convince her mom to attend the event.
Well, she wanted to meet Adam Beach. So basically we wanted to come here and have fun and celebrate, and I always enjoy having company, and it was nice to bring my mom along and help me and support me in my business.
Adam Beach was one of the guest celebrities. Fans lined up to take photos and get his autograph. Beach hopes ElsiCon inspires young Indigenous filmmakers to defy stereotypes.
Growing up, I've wanted to see superheroes. I wanted to be in comic books. And there are Native heroes, but I've wanted something more than that. I wanted to include the Indigenous history, the language.
Glenn Gould is a Mi'kmaq actor from the Membertou Mi'kmaq Nation. He has acted in movies such as Bones of Crows. Gould says Comic-Con should take place in more First Nations communities.
To give that exposure to the kids in those communities, but not just kids, adults. There's a lot of adults who are comic fans, television fans. So I think it'd be nice to bring something different to the community that they don't normally get to experience.
Levi Peters says ElsiCon was a first for many community members, and it was a success.
So when they walked in, it's like they said, we feel like we're not even in Elsipogtog, like we're somewhere else. So, and they really enjoyed it, and you look around, everybody was laughing, having fun.
Levi Peters is already planning next year's Comic-Con, and she hopes it will be hosted in another Mi'kmaq nation. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Elsipogtog First Nation.
Great story. And PJ, I got my shirt at Walmart too. And that's your APTN National News for Monday, August 25th. I'm TR Wheatley. It's been a pleasure to be here with you tonight. Join me and the crew tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for your first look at news from all of us at APTN, both in front of the camera and behind the scene. Agase, kitom, kawapamitinano.